More records! So it's time to do a little bit of a vinyl update. All the new vinyl that I've received and purchased over the past couple of months. As you could tell, there's a lot of them. So I'm going to go through them, talk a little bit about each, and yeah, it's going to be kind of the usual MO. I'm going to start with used, I'm going to then go into reissued, and then go into brand new. So first up, right off the bat, used copy of Romeo and Juliet. Actually, I'm going to do my typical scoot on over here. There we go. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. So Romeo and Juliet, this is both the Tchaikovsky's Overture as well as the Prokofiev, the ballet scenes. Next, I have four pieces on here. I mainly got this for The Sorcerer's Apprentice, because I love The Sorcerer's Apprentice. It's one of my favorite works. But then there's also Mother Goose Suite, which is pretty fun. And then I never heard the Symphony on a French Mountain Air or the Charles Munch Boston Symphony. Or I think that's the actual symphony that it does. Yeah, that's the actual symphony itself. Anyway, really fun. It's a little heavily used, so the listening enjoyment is not the greatest, but oh well. This is my final used record, and this is the soundtrack to Footloose. I have a lot of guilty pleasure soundtracks on here. Like I've got Flashdance, I've got Dirty Dancing, and I figured I needed to complete the 80s dance movies with Footloose. I think I'm still missing a few, but at least the core are now finished with Footloose. And it's actually, like, it's a pretty fun soundtrack. You've got Kenny Loggins with Footloose. You've got Holding Out for a Hero from Bonnie Tyler. Those two songs alone are just fantastic and fun. So now the rest are reissued, or at least the ones I'm going to be talking about are reissued, remastered. And the first one is Led Zeppelin 4. I know some people have like another name for it. I think it goes from a different name. I always called it Led Zeppelin 4. It's beautiful on the artwork there, and I love it. It's one of my favorites from the band. Next up, we have the 2011 Steven Wilson stereo remix of Aqualung. Now this one came with the full book. So when you open it up, you've got the record on the one side there, and then you've got kind of the full book here. Can you tell I'm a librarian with this on par book holding skills? So it comes with the full book that is actually within the vinyl itself, and then you have the actual vinyl gatefold picture there. Very nice. You know, Steven knows what he's doing in terms of mixing and remixing. I've listened to a number of his remixes, and I mean, the guy can't go wrong. He's handling some master craft. Now, I was always also there, so I got those two because I didn't have those in my collection. I mean, I did way back when, but I was kind of mooching off of my dad's collection, so it doesn't really count. And he took those back once he actually got a working turntable again. So I got Thick as a Brick, which was one that I actually did have in my collection, but because this is the reissued one, I thought, yeah, it's time to. The only thing that I'm not a big fan of is, no, I put it up in the cottage. The original one that I had actually folded out when you opened it up, like it folded out, and it was the same dimensions as a newspaper. And here, it's just a book, and it's just, I don't know, for me it's not the same. Like, I really liked when it had that fold out. I mean, all the information is still there, like it's still all here, but it's just, I don't know, for me it's not the same because I really wanted that fold out newspaper aspect. Now there is like added items to the book itself, colored pictures as well, which is kind of fun, but yeah, anyway, the album itself is still brilliant. Steven did a really great job of mixing it again. You know, he really fleshed out some of the things that I felt was a little like in the background or kind of drained out in the original mixing. So I like the fact that this gave it kind of a new wash and a new life. So that was really, really good. Okay, so the next, I guess, all the rest are new releases. And the first up, I went into a deep dive lately into Greta Van Fleet's album. So I have From the Fires as well as the Anthem for a Peaceful Army. And I've been really digging their music. I know people have just been saying, oh, they're just Led Zeppelin copies and Led Zeppelin derivatives, but honestly, I don't, like, I see it and I understand where they're coming from, but you also have to remember that in the late 60s, early 70s, all of rock music was doing that. Like, if you even listen to, like, early Rush, it wasn't anything new in terms of copying their style. And I also find it very ironic that people are, you know, criticizing Greta Van Fleet for copying the styles of Led Zeppelin when Led Zeppelin did exactly that back in the day, and more so, like straight up plagiarizing some works. But anyway, still really enjoying this, really enjoying the Tales from the Fire, as well as the Anthem for a Peaceful Army. Really enjoying it. Now, similarly, another band that I've really found myself diving deep into is King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard. Now, I already had their Polygon Wonderland on vinyl, so I picked up Nonagon Infinity. I also picked up Paper Mache Dream Balloon, which I am loving this. And then I picked up their latest one, which is Fishing for Fishies. Probably one of my favorite albums of this year. And I'm loving how just each of these three albums sound like they could have been produced and written from a completely different band. Like, they're so different in sound. All right, next up we have Primus and the Chocolate Factory with the Fungi Ensemble. Loving this album. This was an album that I really got into about 2 or 3 years ago when it was first released back in 2014. It's essentially just a reworking of the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or no, it's a Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, I think. Is it Willy Wonka? Yeah, I think it's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the 60s or 70s movie. So all the songs on here are just repurposed in Primus fashion. And what they do with these are a lot of fun. Like, it's really funky. And it's also brown, which I think is hilarious, both because Primus and because of chocolate. So I would have shown you all the actually, I'll do that. One of the things that King Gizzard definitely loves is the colored vinyl, and each one of these are colored in certain respects. So this is the Nonagon Infinity one. So it's pretty trippy. It's got that green splatter going on. It's funny because when I played these for my father, he's just like, well, you know, don't they ever use just plain old black vinyl? I said, well, they could, but King Gizzard's a little strange in that sense. Now this one is, I believe it's just the orange. I'm just going to make sure that my computer doesn't go to sleep. Yeah, it's just the orange one for the Paper Mache Dream Balloon. And then finally, the Fishing for Fishies is the Toxic one. I also love the 70s, 80s picture there. Very fun. Yeah, it's the Toxic one. Kind of the marble in that sense. And because I did it for the rest of them, I'll also show you my Primus one. I didn't even realize that. This project is dedicated to the wondrous talent of Gene Wilder. How about that? So here's Primus and the Chocolate Factory. Next up, if we're following suit within the Infinity, this is Jean-Michel Jarre Equinox Infinity. This came out last year. Really dug it. Really love the soundscapes on this one. It's got a really cool kind of visual there. Bring it across like that. Really great electronic music, straight from France. There he is there. Yeah, took what he did with Equinox and pushed it a little bit further. He did the same thing with Oxygen. Next up, I have Haken's live album. This is kind of the bonus disc. They already had Live in America, so this is Live +1, whereas the other one was Live -1. Really fun stuff. It's only got 4 songs. Falling Back to Earth and Pareidolia is on the first side, and then Earthrise and Crystallize, the big 20-minute track, takes up the second side. Really love Falling Back to Earth and Pareidolia. Those are 2 of my favorite tracks off of the mountain. And then Earthrise I can honestly probably do without. If they had cut this from the album, I wouldn't have been sad at all. But Crystallize was really good to hear live, because the amount of new life they bring into that song is very well done. So there's Haken's Live, or L+1VE. Okay, coming into the bottom 3. Next up, we've got the new Baroness album, and this is Gold and Grey. kind of a disappointing album. Wasn't too excited about it. I'll show you the back. What I did at least like was the booklet that came with it. I thought that was really cool because it's got some of the lyrics on it. Because each song is kind of paired with this gorgeous graphic. And I mean, the actual graphics that are found on here are just spectacular. The album artwork kind of is the highlight of the album, unfortunately. Like, look at that. It's just, I love the nature aspect of it, and then you have gold and gray on there. Now, I tried to get the gold pressing, but unfortunately I didn't get there in time, so I got the black pressing, and I actually made a mistake, and I bought it twice, so I'm giving the other one away. The music itself, though, is not the greatest. It might be their weakest album so far, so I'm a little bit disappointed. All right, final two. Next up, we have To Be Kind from Swans. I've been loving this album for a long time, and I finally broke down and ordered it. It's on 3 albums, so it's got 1, 2, 3, like that. Very funky album. Very dark, very menacing, very in your face, but still great time. I listen to this very late at night sometimes. Finally, the last one, because wow, is Terraformer. From Thank You Scientist. This probably is my favorite album so far of the year. It has consistently blown me away. And even after ordering the album, it has continued to blow me away. I love the artwork on it. I love the aesthetics of this album. I love when you open it up. You've got like the actual band here. You've got some visuals there. And again, much like Baroness and their Gold and Grey album, this one also comes with a very beautiful book. It almost looks like Tools art. I can't remember the chap's name that does all the Tools art, but it has that same kind of flavor to it. So you have the lyrics on the one side here, and then you've got the actual artwork on the other side, and the artwork on this is just brilliant. Like, yeah, it matches pretty much exactly the songs that are going on in it. It's very pulp, very like 1940s, 50s, almost like Shamfod? Illustrated by Shamfod. Anyway, that guy, his artwork is just fantastic. Very well done. I'm very pleased with this work. The overall work itself is just brilliant. Like as a art form of music, can't be beat so far this year. It's brilliant. So that's it. Those are all my new albums. What did you guys think? What was one that stood out for you? And let me know some of the albums you've picked up this summer. Do all that by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.